Today I'm going to show you how to paint a Fleshripper from Malediction's Legion of the Fallen. First, we got to prime that guy with some NATO green surface primer, a little bit of blood broodmother purple as a zenithal, and a pearl skin dry brush. That's right, we're using a different undercoating, but we're still going to use speed paints over these things. I was a little skeptical at first using a green primer and then doing a zenithal of a dark purple, but it kind of gave it a nice little glowy effect underneath, and having a little bit of green gives this a little bit more, I don't know, weirdness to these guys, because these are the Legion of the Fallen. They're like undead, vampires, skeletons, all sorts of cool things, including this Fleshripper. And we're starting off with some rigor mortis on this skin. Now this is the original pose. There are alternate poses as well you can get. I don't know how that works with the alternate pose or not. The boxes I had it. I don't know if everyone has access to those alternate poses for each miniature or whatever. But anyway, so the owner of FDB, which is one of my sponsors, printed these out for me at my own cost. I paid for them myself, which is not always cheap to get stuff printed, but he gave me a good price on it anyways. But yeah, I primed this up, like I said, a really cool undercoat, and you can sort of see the green underneath that purple. It's not a ton, but what is cool is it kind of gives my base again the coloring of the ground I want for most of this, pretty much this whole legion, like this whole faction. I want to have the same base, just like I did with the Order of the Shattered Throne, not Order, yeah, Order of the Shattered Legion, no, Order of the Shattered Throne, oh my God, Legion, I don't know, the Shattered Throne. I keep missing all their names. Anywho, I want to try and keep the bases similar, so that I know which faction they're with when they're on the table and all that stuff. Alright, using some murder scene now with some speed paint medium, and I'm saying this is like a 1-to-1 ratio, putting this on all the cloth. Now if you look at the artwork that they were going for and some other people, they went more like a greenish kind of, sort of like a, I would say the color I'm going to use on one of his pant legs later on, Gunner Camo, is going to be what I think people sort of used in that similarity. But having put the speed paint in this murder scene color, as you can see, where it is darker, it stays dark, but where it is light, it really pops through. Like, it really looks like his flesh underneath is about to rip through this clothing like it does everywhere else. And even if I'm getting on all the chains and all that stuff, I will come back and clean that all up later. But this is just a way for me to have a base coat there, or not a base coat, but like to make sure that every nook and cranny gets the speed paint. Because if I tried to avoid the chains, there would be spots coming through where the holes of the chains are. There would be spots coming through, you know, where it meets the cloth and all that, and it would look really weird. So going over the chains, but coming back with another paint later on, we'll clean that all up and look amazing. Have you played Malediction? If you haven't, oh my God, please check it out. I am so psyched about this game, because one, it feels like a board game as well, because it is Magic meets Diablo meets Warhammer style, kill team style Spearhead. It is a lot like other skirmish games that I've seen out there. I mean, there's the D&D Onslaught, you have Halo, you have, you know, all sorts of cool games like that. But this one just feels so involved, so magnificent, especially with the terrain. It's unbelievable. Right now we're doing all these guts and tubes and all this stuff that is sticking out, that's ripping out of his arm here with the aged hide. And one of my viewers one time said, hey, try aged hide on tongue, skin, like, you know, things that are not supposed to be on the outside of the body kind of thing. And frankly, I have tried it before, and it does look amazing, especially on the guts here, like on these intestines or whatever they are, all these, I don't know what holding, this guy looks like he's being held together by just like these big giant stomach worms, which I know it's gross, and if you're watching this at lunchtime, I'm sorry, but if you're watching this any other time, I'm not so sorry. Again, no, a really cool base coat. You saw with me what I did with the Shattered Throne faction. I'm not done painting those. I wasn't tempted to paint everything on the channel from everything, but some people are actually asking, could you paint them please? You're a good guide, you're helping us through painting these, we're not sure how to paint them, you know, this is great for the undercoating, especially using speed paints on this cool. And it, like, some people thought I used all sorts of other paints and all sorts of techniques. Nope, super simple. Yes, I know I'm using speed paints again, but it's just what I love to use the most. Now I will change it up at some point for other things I paint on the channel, so don't worry about that. I would like to try also some more airbrushing stuff, so that might come up at some point, but we'll see. Anyway, some pallid bone now and all the bony spikes, and then where his arm is, it looks like his bone is holding on there. And here's the color I was talking about. Oh, sorry, it was burnt moss, not gunner camo. But gunner camo is also another good one, I think, that could have been used for the cloak and all the clothing. Look as it dried the clothing, how that speed paint with the medium. So medium is almost a must-have. Sometimes, especially when you're doing the dry brushing of the light on top of a dark color, I find it really dilutes it and makes it work even better. Grim black now on his blade that's going through his arm and became his hand. And this reminds me of something that I saw somewhere else one time, where the guy, oh wait, that orc, the white orc in The Hobbit. Reminds me of that, except without all the grossness coming out of his arm. You know, yeah. Ruddy fur now. I'm using this on the little bit of fur that's coming out from his cloak. And what I'm saying is that this is the same color as the hair of the heads he's got popping out of his right shoulder here. So I'm putting this on the hair. It's hard to tell. They're very mushed into the skin, so it's very hard to tell what is hair. So I'm just going approximately. And I didn't change the color of the skin of these guys, so it's like they're still like underneath his skin, like trying to pop out, or I don't know. This guy is nasty. That's all I can say. He's just nasty. It's perfect for October. Really nasty looking miniature. And here I was putting Satchel Brown, but I accidentally dipped my paintbrush into the Grim Black and mixed it in with the Satchel Brown by accident. So, but I fixed it, and then just came back. But it actually worked on the belt, having the Grim Black and the Satchel Brown at the front, because it was very dark, but at the back here was much lighter, so it works perfectly and it looks really good, I find. So if you make that mistake like I did, you know, you shouldn't though, because you shouldn't be seeing what I dip it in. But anyways, all right, here's where I'm having some fun. I took some broadsword silver speed paint, added some Grim Rust effects. Now this is from the John Blanche Masterclass set. It's Grim Rust. Mixed it in. It gave like a brownish, rusty, silvery, shiny color. However, when it dries, it becomes completely matte. And I had tried this on the second pose, by the way. I painted a whole second pose separately from from this one, and I actually just like went and tried it on, and it dried up and it became matte. It wasn't even shiny, but as I'm putting it on, it's super shiny. So I was very surprised by what it was doing. So I ended up fixing that a little bit later. You'll see what I do to it, but it still looks cool. But I found it blended too much into the clothing, so it was a little bit harder to see. So what I do, but on the skin it would look really nice. But again, I don't know why I dulled it down, but I know that the Grim Rust and the Fresh Rust and all that, when they dry, they become like a texture, right? They have a little bit of a texture to it, and they are matte. So I'm assuming it like turned the metallic into a matte paint. But in the mixing pot I used, in the little Poppet, by the way, not the those speed palettes everyone's talking about. I use a Poppet from, you know, dollar store. I mixed it in there. It was nice and shiny. You actually saw the shine of the silver metallic there, which is really weird. And then now I'm coming in with a skin tone. Yeah, go figure, skin color, Onyx skin, to do every single little stitch on this guy. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of stitches on his clothing and so on. I didn't do all the stitches on his skin because there's some spots that looks like the skin, but I mean, I find that the speed paint did the job for that. So you just want to slowly, you know, take a nice little tip of your brush, and if you mess it up a bit, not the end of the world, because if your paint isn't too thick, it will blend into the speed paint color that's already there, kind of thing. Like, that's what's cool about paints. They kind of blend and they work all together. So you can see I sometimes wipe it off because I'm like, okay, it went too deep there, and I'm like, oh, I missed the wrong spot. And yeah, so you just take your time. Yes, this is a long process doing this, but I'm just trying to show you guys exactly where all the little stitches are. I don't want to skip through it. I am speeding this up at 2 times, of course, because then this video would be like, you know, 40 minutes or whatever. But again, it didn't take me that long to paint this guy. One, he's big. I didn't use a ton of colors, so I limited my palette, and I also didn't go into every little single detail on his skin. Some people will go nuts and do that, which is perfectly fine, but I think it just, the look, you want it to look good on the table. You want people to be like, oh my god, that thing is gross looking. That's the point, you know? People aren't going to look at this with a magnifying glass and go, oh, you forgot this detail, you missed this detail. If you are happy with your paints, and that is what this channel is about, and that's what I want to thank everyone if they do watch it. Yeah, I only get a couple hundred views on some videos. Some of them get more. But I am thankful for everyone who does come and watch my videos, who comments also. I love it when people comment on my videos, like it. Please share my videos too, okay? I'd like to see them being shared and sent out there so people get to know me a little bit more. And you can also check out my Discord. The link is in the description. It is free to join there. We talk about all sorts of cool stuff. We share our photos. Come find me on Facebook if you don't believe in that. Check me out on Instagram as well. I'm on all sorts of social media. And I'm always willing to hear from you guys and see your works of art. And especially if you're following my videos, I definitely want to see you show me what you've done. Like, I want to see how it turned out for you. All right, we're coming back to that large blade of his, and we're highlighting it or doing like some scratches, doing some like non-metallic metal a little bit with Great Hall Gray, which is actually ironic because that's what I used to dry brush on the Shattered Throne miniatures after depriming. So it's actually funny that I use it here, but I find it does a good job. You know, you do little scratches, you do a little edge here, you just take your brush, nick it all over the place, and it gives it some cool effects to it. All right, remember what I was talking about, that chain? So what I'm doing now is I took gunmetal. It is not a super bright metal, but I just put it on the tip of the brush, and I slowly go over, well, not necessarily slowly, but fast enough to sort of like dry brush it on, but not like, I mean, it's a little bit thicker than a dry brushing, but just getting like the higher edges and keeping some of that rusty look underneath. Now, was this a better idea? I don't know. Like I said, that the rust effect would have been cool, but I think maybe now I would have reversed this, put the gunmetal on here, and then came back with the rust effect as a dry brushing on it. But you know, it's always hard to figure out what you're trying to do and you know what you're trying to get done with it. And this is what it ends up looking like. So what do you want, right? I mean, I find he looks amazing in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I think he looks freaking amazing. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Voodoo Shade, we're putting this on the base, just showing you guys quickly. By the way, there is a chain on the ground too, and I did do that same look to it. I forgot to actually put the gunmetal on it, so don't forget to do that on that chain as well. But I find with the rust look on the ground, it kind of is a little bit better. And there you have it, folks, the Fleshripper from Malediction's Legion of the Fallen. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to slay the gray one miniature at a time.